Life show today, guys. This is a big one, huge win for the Trump administration as well as Elon Musk, and a huge win in the Supreme Court, 9-0. This is amazing. This is a day where they are actively dismantling day by day the federal district court judges that are trying to control the sitting president. This is amazing. So the Supreme Court came out and said 9-0, complete win, that these federal district judges cannot tell the United States sitting president what he can and can't do when it comes to the protection of the United States as well as foreign policy. So every single one of these Democrats, all these district Democrat AGs are trying to sue Trump to bring back all these criminal gangbangers, all these criminals that are terrorists back to the United States. Well, it got up to the Supreme Court and they said, nope, this falls under the executive branch of the United States, and with a complete victory of 9-0, Trump can do as he pleases with foreign policy and cleaning out the United States of America from all these hard criminals, guys. What a huge, huge win, and we think that's justice is winning. But guys, it gets even better because we got a big Doge update for you right now. This is so amazing because now the DOJ, the FBI are getting involved when it comes to getting your hard-earned tax dollars back into your pockets. Yes, so they are looking at all the biggest states that get all the money, federal funding. We're talking about tens of billions of dollars, sometimes into the hundreds of billions of dollars, depending upon the state, like California, and where the money has gone. So check this out. The DOJ the FBI and the IRS are now assisting in the investigation into California for $24 billion that has gone missing. The California stated was going for their homeless issue. Well, this was federal funding. And now that we have got the FBI, the IRS, and the DOJ who are actively going into these states, helping out Doge to bring all this money back that we have no receipts for, no accountability for, and no results for. They literally said, U.S. Attorney Bill Asile said, we will get to the bottom of it. If we find that any federal laws are violated, we will arrest and prosecute those individuals involved. This goes back to federal funding being used in all these Democratic blue states for sanctuary cities for illegals, giving them all types of benefits. Well, Doge said, hey, we want that money back because we want to give it back to the taxpayers in the form of a Doge dividend check. Guys, this is such a win because it's one thing to cut federal spending. It's another thing to go into each of these states and say, prove that you did not violate these laws of the federal laws when it came to all the money we gave you. Because if you did, guess what? You're getting arrested. You're getting prosecuted, and you owe this money back to us because we're giving it back to the taxpayers with these Doge checks. What a huge, huge win, guys. I'm going to show you the receipts in just a moment. But again, things are getting crazy because the White House has now reportedly defied a court order blocking the Associated Press reporter and photographer from the Oval Office. So lawsuits all over the place, guys. We got a big, big show today. So much is going on, but this is a big, big win for Trump and the administration and Elon Musk. I want to say thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you to all of our subscribers for joining us today. And if you're not subscribed, please consider joining us here at TrueLife News. We want you a part of the family. We want to serve you every day with the top news and make sure that you are informed. I want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. Thank you so much for your support, and everybody that gives a super chat donation. Got to give some love to Bill Rushing and Angel R. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. Remember, we're days away. On the 22nd of every month, we give back to charity live on stream. Thousands and thousands of dollars through your support, guys. This channel is going to be known for giving. But I want to say thank you to everybody. If you don't mind doing us a huge favor of hitting that thumbs up like button, we really appreciate it. We've got some news to jump into tonight, guys. But I am glad that the Doge finally got the FBI, the IRS, the DOJ to get involved with all the fraud, waste, and abuse and getting this money back to the taxpayers. Check this out.
Solving actual problems, the Democrats find themselves in quite the predicament where their narrative is not actually lining up to their actions, and even their own party is finally kind of waking up to it. Now, this weekend, Bernie Sanders and the new frontrunner for the 2028 presidential race, AOC, very ironically, jet set out to the Coachella music concert in California. That's this high-end weekend soiree with tickets costing between $600 and $1,200 a pop to give this message.
To fight for economic justice, social justice, and racial justice. We have an economy today that is working very well for the billionaire class, but not for working families.
Now, if Bernie actually believed any of that, first off, he wouldn't own 3 houses, but he would actually have been in favor of these tariffs then. But the Democrat Party isn't exactly for the things that they say they're for.
Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section, in the chat. What do you think about all this? Because I'm telling you, if we don't fight for justice, they will keep lying. They will keep stealing from our hard-earned pockets, all our tax dollars. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
We know that, but now even Democrats are finding that out, because at the exact same time Bernie was given this speech, the UAW union boss was on MSNBC on Sunday, on one of their new Sunday shows, by the way, to point out exactly why Bernie and all the others opposing Trump really ain't for the little guy.
When it comes to tariffs, look, we support tariffs on auto, on heavy truck, on agricultural implement. We have plants at Deere in Iowa right now that are threatening to be closed and go to Mexico. Let's talk about profits. In the last 15 years, the top 10 automakers in this country generated $1.6 trillion in profits. And you know what they did with those profits? They didn't reinvest it into plants. They didn't lower prices for consumers, and they sure as hell didn't invest it in the workers. But what they did do, they spent $367 billion in buybacks and dividends for Wall Street and over $1 billion for CEOs.
Ooh!
Dude, this is huge. Democrats...
Guys, that guy just owned the MSNBC panel because he's actually a union worker.
Are losing the unions. I never thought I would see the day for this. At first, it was the Teamsters that refused to endorse Kamala Harris, and now the UAW, the Auto Workers Union, is basically saying, yeah, Democrats left us in the dust and let the rich get richer while workers lost their jobs and were outsourced to foreign countries. Wow! I told you so comes to mind. And the party that is actually standing up for the working class in practice, not just in rhetoric, is now the Republican Party. J.D. Vance addressed this today.
For 40 years, we have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our kids, to the weapons that we actually need to fight a war, if God forbid we had to fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff.
So who's really looking out for the American worker? The guy who never had a real job until he was elected mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and has been on the government dole ever since, of somehow amassing 3 homes while doing it, flying around on private jets talking about climate change? Or the guys that are actually bringing American jobs and products and investments back to America? I'm just asking. And the media, I mean, like the same media that is so in the tank for Democrats. These guys are so in the tank.
We're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things.
Yeah, we do want to make those here. We sure used to. We used to go out of our way to support the company that our neighbor worked for. People took so much pride in their companies that they worked there for their entire career,
lives.
20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And the companies recognized that. And it led to the greatest products in the world that lasted. There's a song out there about an old timer. It's called Made in America by Toby Keith. And a few of those lines go, "It breaks his heart seeing foreign cars filled with fuel that isn't ours. Wearing cotton he didn't grow. He's got the red, white, and blue flying high on the farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spend a little more in the store for a tag in the back that says USA."
What?
That's what made America
Rest in
great.
peace.
That mentality and that generation. Now, I tried to express this sentiment last
Guys, if you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, this hits home, guys. America first, baby.
week that a lot of you saw. But Jimmy Kimmel, the same classless Jimmy Kimmel, showed exactly the hubris that I was pointing out.
These guys on the right-wing propaganda channels, they're bending over not just backwards, but frontwards to try to put a positive spin on this, for why it's smart and good. And one of these guys, a very bright gentleman named Carl Higbie, argued that his viewers who dared to question Trump should be ashamed of themselves.
This was a test. We were just presented with our nation's version, our generation's version of the post-Pearl Harbor posters that went up that said, Uncle Sam, pointing at you, I want you for the U.S. Army. Trump wanted you to put America first and yourself second for a week, and most people couldn't do it.
You selfish monsters. I hope you're proud of you. You couldn't just let him drain your 401k?
What a sick dude.
For our country. That's what I asked for a week. I went to war for 9 years because I believe in what this country stands for. Back-to-back 9 months deployments to Iraq, leaving everyone behind to make sure that we fought the bad guys on their shores and not ours. And you're unwilling to take a temporary hit on your stock portfolio, Jimmy, that you knew darn well would come right back, by the way. Yeah, like, how dare me, right? So, Jimmy, I think it is a bit selfish for people to jump ship 5 days into fixing what is a national security issue that could be a lot worse down the line. I do think it's a bit selfish for people to scream and cry when all the president now is trying to do is make America stronger. Stronger so even your many dollars go further. So you don't have to worry about the next time you or your family might need antibiotics when they get sick. So we have that steel to make anything from our own battleships to the rafters in your studio, or the timber to build that desk you sit behind and crack jokes from, or the fuel you put in your private jet or fancy car service. I didn't ask anyone to go fight on the beaches of Normandy, okay? I asked for you to hold the line for a temporary 10% hit on your stock portfolio, which is back now, by the way. Sure, he's poking fun at me. Look, that's what comedians do, okay? We get that. But the fact that the audience is laughing shows...
I have no idea.
Or at least...
Guys, let me show you this because it's all about the facts. What do the polls say? What do real people say? Well, guess what? This was from CBS. They said the impact of tariffs on manufacturing jobs in the U.S. will 49% say add jobs. 25% said lose jobs. This is where you get people that have no dang clue of what the heck is actually happening. Trump has literally pulled in $5 trillion worth of investments into the United States to create jobs. $5 trillion. Biden borrowed $1.5 trillion from the American taxpayer to try to build jobs in the United States. Trump got $5 trillion from everybody else in the entire world to come here to build jobs. And now he's doing this tariffs, and most people believe that the tariffs are going to bring jobs back. So when I see an America First mentality, you got to know the facts, guys. And it's always so hilarious to see people expose themselves for a laugh, but they have no idea what is actually going on.
A lot of his audience is on American values. Wonder how many in that audience has ever made a sacrifice for their country. Didn't sound like a lot. I wonder if there's an old timer in that audience with Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. We as a country should listen to that song again. Too many people are blaming Trump for at least trying to clean up the mess from the last 60 years that got us so dependent on foreign goods, off the gold standard, and not taken seriously by our adversaries anymore. Did I mean what I said? Yeah, you bet I did, Jimmy. And I'd say it again. And look, I'm not perfect with all this. I at least try to buy American for the most part. I'm fortunate enough to be able to spend a little bit more, and I do. But yes, sometimes I order cheap junk from China out of convenience. But that's part of the problem. Like I said, I'm not innocent of it. But we as a society have traded personal convenience and ease for patriotism, or feel good about ourselves for some cockamamie perceived moral high ground. Heck, we gave up the Panama Canal that we built with American money and American lives, by the way, for $1. This is the mind virus we got to correct. because it's infected everything. So, Jimmy, you can call me whatever you want, bootlicker, do all the hit pieces on me. I don't care. I'm backing the dude who's at least trying to make us great. Your guy drove us into the ground while you made millions off making jokes about it.
And guys, I'm telling you this, if there's enough, like, this is some of the biggest news I think I could ever report on the Doge, on getting justice for Americans, getting justice for you watching. You sit there, and when you watch, I hope you get value out of this, knowing that there's people that are trying to do things for you, to bring taxpayer dollars back to you. Right here, both the FBI and the IRS are now assisting in the investigation into the $24 billion of federal funds missing from the California homeless funding. This is the U.S. Attorney Bill Allie said, we will get to the bottom of it, and if we find that any federal laws are violated, we will arrest and prosecute those individuals involved. Why? Because you didn't get nothing. Nothing happened with this entire slew of $24 billion of tax dollars, not from California, from across the United States, that was given to California to solve a homeless problem, and it did nothing. They've still got the worst homeless problem in the United States right now. And I'm so glad that Doge is partnering with them, FBI and the IRS, and saying, you know what? Let's go get our money back. Let's go get taxpayer dollars that should have never been given to this state, because they already are the 6th largest GDP in the entire world, yet they need federal funding to solve their problem that they created because they're a sanctuary city? No, I don't buy it. Jay Ewers, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said, thanks, Joel. You make the news of the day exciting. And Michelle Lindsay, who said, I hope this helps the charity. Let's go. And Deanna Barkman for the super chat. I love it. Y'all show them some love in the chat. Deanna, thank you so much for your support. Guys, we want to bring the truth to you, and I'm telling you, all this stuff is starting to add up. Little by little by little, it's adding up, and I'm just sitting here thinking, do you know that there is uncovering of USAID that was involved, your tax dollars, with keeping drug cartels open across the world? Listen to this.
Yes, well, what's important with the color revolution playbook is it's not just for toppling a government and running the president, the democratically elected president, out of office, as we did in Ukraine in 2014, as we did in the Arab Spring, and as we did in dozens of countries around the world using this playbook. It's also for stopping the passage of laws in various countries. These same rent riots and mass street protests were rolled out in Georgia and in Serbia and in Slovakia to try to stop the passage of, and in Hungary to try to stop the passage of a FARA-type law just this past year in those countries that would be sort of a Foreign Agent Registration Act, where NGOs or institutions in those countries that were supported by USAID would have to register with the government as a foreign agent, as we require here in the U.S. Well, all these USAID-funded NGOs had their specimens taped to the streets to do these mass street protests, just like we're seeing against the U.S. government here and during Trump's first term, in order to try to stop the shutdown of USAID. So just like USAID, AstroTurf's protest movements to stop the passage of laws that impact USAID programming in foreign countries, we see literally the same thing happening here. And on the front of the Maryland man in the MS-13 and related sort of gang violence and narco network thing, the thing that I find most troubling is that I believe very passionately that USAID plays a significant role in the drug trade, and that many of these narco networks, everywhere from Afghanistan to Pakistan to Mexico to Colombia to Peru and
guys, this guy knows what he's talking about. He has uncovered some of the biggest fraud in America. Mike Benz. If you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, let me know your thoughts in the comments in the chat, guys, because I'm telling you, USAID was a slush fund for the worst of the worst.
Ecuador and even in Brazil are very much tied to a influence operation that has been going on for 70 years to work with narco networks around the world in order to move elections, in order to shift industry, and that there has been a campaign to stop people like Bukele in El Salvador from USAID. Bukele was one of the first people on X to announce him being overjoyed at his country no longer receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in USAID funding. Why is that? Because it was all funding the opposition and it was funding these AstroTurf protest movements. Why did USAID have a problem with the shutdown of drug and cartel networks in El Salvador? Why did George Soros and his Open Society Foundation make such a campaign out of the human rights issues in El Salvador and trying to destabilize the Bukele administration in El Salvador, when the Open Society Foundation is the kissing cousin of the U.S. Embassy and of the USAID in these regions? Why were they so on the ball about protecting the drug networks when you have USAID funding the irrigation of poppy crops in Afghanistan, when you have the U.S. Institute of Peace funding the Taliban and telling them point blank to keep the drugs flowing? You see the same thing with, in the 1950s to the 1970s with the CIA funding the narco networks as a bulwark against the Marxist left initially in the during the Cold War, and now they're being repurposed against the populist right during the Trump era. And so what I suspect is happening, you see the same thing with Soros prosecutors, who are decriminalizing drugs and are getting prosecutors to pledge not to.
Did you know in Portland, Oregon, Soros-funded back DAs were able to convince and get the laws changed so that you could do heroin, you could do drugs, things like that, and it would not be illegal. Well, guess what happened 2 years later? Their prisons are overfilling. Drug problems rampant through the streets. That's what they wanted, guys. Everything that they want, when they want chaos and they want destruction, and then they want to say that's what's coming from Trump. We have all the evidence, guys. I'm going to pull it up for you in a moment. But what he's talking about, these Soros-funded, USAID-funded propaganda trying to literally push this stuff is so bad.
To indict people on drug crimes and getting the judges to not hand out prison sentences to the entire drug network. So from my perspective, USAID is at every point in the chain of this, from actually funding the irrigation of the drug crops to funding and capacity building the drug networks that wholesale the drugs, to keeping the criminals who retail the drugs on our streets out of jail and out of the hands of prosecutors so that they can sell it to the American people. And so I think that this is part of a larger campaign to try to continue supporting the drug networks despite the Trump administration's aggressive attempt to label them terrorists and shut them down.
Guys, like, I'm telling you, this is like, you cannot, I bring the receipts, guys, because I want you to see exactly what's going on. You can't make this stuff up. So remember what I just told you about Portland, Oregon, right? Well, check this out. You can ask the AI, you can go ask what the news are. Can you tell me about when Portland, Oregon, not prosecuting drug charges, what were the results? So in 2020, Oregon voters passed Measure 110 with 58% support, decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of hard drugs like fentanyl, heroin, meth, and cocaine. Instead of criminal charges, individuals caught with these substances faced a $100 fine. So let's ask, what were the results of it, guys? Because remember, these were all Soros-backed stuff. Oregon saw a significant spike in overdose deaths. That's what you wanted? That's what they wanted? Measure 110 funded a significant expansion of addiction services, adding this. Only 50% of needed treatment capacity was available, and detox centers in Portland turned away half of those seeking help due to a lack of space. Seriously? Portland experienced a rise in visible homelessness and disorder, with the downtown businesses reportedly increased shoplifting, vandalism, and violence. That's what they wanted, guys. Plain and simple. There's the facts. You can't deny it. This is what we're living in, is some evil, evil dang people, guys, that are trying to destroy America, trying to destroy the American dream, and it makes me so mad because the Democrats don't even see it right in front of their dang eyes. And it blows my mind. The facts are there. Thank you so much, brother Scott Matthews. Let's go with the super chat. Guys, y'all show Scott some love in the chat, as well as What's New, who said, with the super chat, said, I support my President Trump and his administration. Let's go. Y'all show What's New some love in the chat with the big super chat tonight. That's why I support Trump. That's why I support him getting all the criminals out, all the drugs out, closing the borders, is because that's common sense. Listen to this.
Flexing his tariff muscle as he takes the economy on a trade roller coaster in his push for fairer deals. The president is exempting many electronics, smartphones, laptops, and other products from newly implemented tariffs. But then he announced on Truth Social that nobody is getting off the hook, especially China. Those products are just moving to a different tariff bucket. Trump chalking up the whiplash to his flexibility.
I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible. And you have to be. We lost with China over the Biden years trillions of dollars on trade. Trillions of dollars. And he let them fleece us. And we can't do that anymore. The end result is we're going to get to the position of greatness for our country.
Yes.
We're the greatest economic power in the world if we're smart. If we're not smart, we're going to hurt our country very badly.
Last week, it was 75 countries wanting to come to the tariff negotiating table, and now the White House is upping that number.
130 countries have responded, and we're negotiating with them, and they've got their rate down to 10%. And so really,
guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments in the chat. Is this not winning? Are we not getting back to common sense? Let's go.
it's kind of almost a two-world system. There's a process about China, and that's very, very nascent, if at all. And then the process for everybody else. So the process for everybody else is orderly. It's clear. People are coming to town with great offers.
Meanwhile, United Auto Workers Union President Shawn Fain, who campaigned with Kamala Harris last year, well, he is backing up Trump's tariffs as a way to bring jobs back to America. Watch.
Know that tariffs will influence these companies to do the right thing and reinvest in this country and reinvest in factories in this country.
I'm really struggling to understand how UAW has aligned itself with Trump on this.
Well, how do tariffs create jobs?
Yes. We support tariffs as a tool in the toolbox, not the end-all be-all. We got to fix the broken trade system. But tariffs are a motivator to make these companies do the right thing.
They're going to try and do it in several months. It's like warp speed in the vaccine.
Let's start where we agree, Harold.
Why are you arguing? It's good to see you, man.
Don't talk to Harold like that. Harold,
I've been ready for this all day.
Looking good, Harold. Looks like you got a little sun. All right.
All right, well, let's start where we disagree then.
Yeah.
All right, Harold and I would agree that we need to confront China.
No doubt.
You would agree that we need to reindustrialize the economy for the 21st century, high-tech manufacturing. We agree? We agree.
We do. Absolutely.
Right. You would agree that we want to get our trade partners to reduce their tariffs on our exports, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You would agree that we need rare earth minerals and we need abundant energy to fuel this modern economy?
Without question.
Okay, so that's where we agree. Donald Trump is the only one making progress on any of this. He's the only one talking about it, and he's the only one getting results. He's actually the first person to talk about how all these things come together under one goal, to make America great again. We've already gotten our eyes on the minerals in Ukraine, and we have our eyes on minerals in Greenland. We've gotten $4 trillion in private investment into this country on high-tech manufacturing. We have companies racing to decouple from China, and 130 allies have now said they're going to drop their tariffs on our exports down to 10%. That's massive progress. Has it been perfect? No. But has it gotten results? Absolutely. We could get a lot faster and better results if the Democrats would cooperate. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is an American issue. So instead of just sitting around and complaining, where your only idea is to do nothing, that's just going to isolate the Democratic Party, because once this thing starts going and Trump's proven to be flexible, He has carve-outs. He's watching the bond market. He says we might need to help Detroit because even he understands you can't relocate major factories in a month. Could take a year, could take 2 or 3. Why don't we reach across the aisle like you and I are right now, Harold, shake hands, and do this for the American people together?
Can we keep it going? All of this, camaraderie, Judge?
Always. And I want to welcome Harold back from the Masters.
You're very kind. I went down for it.
And I'm wearing a green jacket for the Masters, and Jesse has green in his tie for the Masters. Look, I think that what the president is doing. Oh, and you have a green suit on, Tyrus. I'm sorry.
Is that green? That's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's time for glasses for Dana.
Yeah, it is green. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's green.
Yeah, it's green. He got mad at me because I didn't know it was green. Okay, look, the most important thing is bringing back manufacturing to the United States. And I don't know, Harold, if you're suggesting that when you talk about AI that we have to look forward, that there's something wrong with bringing manufacturing back to the United States. I'm hoping I didn't misunderstand.
No, man, I meant
that.
the jobs we want to bring back are not the assembly jobs of iPhones, but it's how do you make the robots and the AI that goes. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Cars,
right,
which is why you've got people like Sean Fain and the UAW saying we, as Democrats, we support the president in this endeavor. And you know what? The president can have a multifaceted motivation here. He wants to get rid of fentanyl. He wants to make sure that we stop the killing of innocent Americans because China is sending the precursor to fentanyl to Mexico, where they're stamping it and selling it into the United States. And he can also have a motivation of less reliance on China, which, as we saw during COVID, was I don't want to have to rely on China for masks or for medication. I want medicines in this country being made here. So the idea that, you're not sure what his motivation is, there's a whole panoply of motivations as to why we need to get everything back to the United States so we can maintain an independence. And by the way, we are the greatest economic power in the world.
Boom.
We are the greatest consumer base in the world. And I know that we lost some money, but we're going to get that money back. I don't think there's any question about it. And I think that the only reason that the Democrats have not sued, and believe me, they sue about everything. They sue about immigration and they sue about...
Guys, there's literally another lawsuit today that was targeted to Trump. Like, we'll go over it in a moment, but it's the dumbest thing in the world, guys. Like, I'm serious. But if you appreciate that, regardless of all these lawsuits, Trump is still pushing forward. If you don't mind doing us a huge favor, hitting that thumbs up like button, guys, this is what it's about. Putting America first, regardless of the lawfare, we're going to win putting America first.
The other stuff, but there was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal. If Democrats genuinely oppose tariffs, they could file lawsuits to stop them, but they're not doing that. I think in the end, what we've got is a president who's got the backbone and the spine to negotiate or renegotiate, shows that he is willing to put his political leverage so that we can regain our standing on the world stage. And all this namby-pamby, we may lose this and we may lose that, is not part of his game. His game is, I'm making America first. I know how to do it. I've got the backbone to do it. No one else did it, and I'm going to get it done.
Tyrus, it was weird to me to have MSNBC asking like a left-wing organization of the UAW why they would support Trump when the tariffs are a left-wing agenda item. So why don't they just embrace it? And also, he said today he's considering temporary exemptions from his 25% tariffs on the auto industry. So they could actually win on both sides of it.
Well, the first part of your question, it doesn't matter what President Trump does, MSNBC. He could literally come out with a valve that says the cure for cancer right here. And they will say that was a glass valve and it was bad that you're using glass and not using plastic. That's the issue. We're taking advice. You have to respect the process. This is a process.
Yes.
This is a negotiation. I'd just like to point out there was 6 agreements and a handshake between a Republican and Democrat, probably the first time in 4 years. Congratulations, fellas.
Jesse's our brother. They just won't admit it in public.
But in the spirit of that, we have to respect the process. The people who are criticizing, there is no honor and respect among thieves. We had 4 years of fleecing of this country. China had 4 years to make their move, and they did. The problem was they didn't anticipate they were going to have to deal with President Trump again. Now he's back into what Harold was talking about. There's everywhere. Fentanyl is a giant pie. And China's been eating all the pie. Fentanyl's on one side, economic stuff's on the other side, and we have to punch them in the mouth because China's goal was to get what? The world currency. They didn't want the dollar bill to be the world currency. They wanted China to be the world currency, and that was their agenda. So there's a lot of angles to this because he's behind 4 years to trying to catch up.
Yeah.
So respect the process. And when you have people on TV who put their hands on their face, like, why are you doing? That means they have no clue what they're talking about. Respect the process. There's hard times put on this country, and you got to get through hard times. You're going to have growing pains. It's going to hurt a little bit, but I feel confident. The people that everywhere I go, people feel confident, we feel good. We would rather go down swinging than sit like we did for the last 4 years.
Boom. Guys, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, Scott Matthews, for the super chat, brother. Appreciate you, man. And thank you so much, Andy, for the super chat. Guys, this is where it's at right here. Because we're winning across the board. They're trying to use federal district judges to target Trump and his administration. Well, guess what? Now Trump is saying, and Doge, because this goes for the Doge update. This goes for the Doge checks. We got to save money, and we got to get the money back to the Treasury in order to give the Doge checks. This is a huge, huge update right here because both the FBI and the IRS are now assisting the investigations into the $24 billion of federal funding that's gone missing from the California homeless funding. The U.S. attorney said, we will get to the bottom of it, and if we find that any federal laws are violated, we will arrest and prosecute those individuals involved. Guys, this is accountability. Billions and billions of your dollars went to a super blue state, Democratic state, for homelessness that never got solved, and now Doge is going after that. And what I love is, again, too, Andy, when it comes to the Supreme Court who ruled 9-0 in favor of Trump against Boasberg, that's why that guy out of Massachusetts is gone. Because, again, the Supreme Court finally gave Trump the big desired win that he deserved. Right here, you're going to listen to our boy Stephen Miller go over it because I'm telling you guys, if we don't continue pushing this, the lawfare will never stop. But this was a huge win for Trump. Listen to this.
These are sick people. Volker, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to this country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that one was refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple.
The court specifically said he couldn't be sent back to El Salvador.
But at this point, the Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel a foreign policy function in the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a non-G10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on your Force One just a few days ago. And they said
They have to answer this question. Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
What's illegal?
Why is that like over and over? That's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility.
Guys, you hear that? No swearing in the chat, guys. Keep it clean or I will block you. We keep our chat clean. This channel is clean. One of the things I wanted to show you guys, the DOJ is being sued by Judicial Watch. We're digging deeper into this, guys. Why? Because we still haven't seen the stupid Epstein files or the JFK files or the MLK files, but we're keeping up with this. And now the Judicial Watch is putting the just hammer on them to do what? Do what you said you were going to do. You said you were going to release on day one. We haven't seen anything. They're now making sure that Pam Bondi follows through with her promise, that everybody follows through with their promise. Because if we don't hold them to the fire, guys, they will continue to hide things. And I'm telling you, because there's rhinos in the Trump administration. Trump can't do it all, guys. Listen to this.
There were 25 to 40 votes no to get this thing through, and a compromise was reached that, hey, we're going to take care of it in the process. Have you heard that one before? Did you hear that on the CR? Have you heard that before? We're going to take care of it. Okay, we're going to see what taking care of it means. Taking care of it does not mean a defense budget that's over $1 trillion, and I'm a hawk. But I consider to be when I'm a hawk, you use every tool in the toolbox. What do you think she is doing right now? She is underwrite. He's got a coup in South Korea, one of our greatest allies, a coup in South Korea to remove basically the pro-Western government, driven by the Chinese Communist Party, full stop. You got massive infiltration into Japan. They're the first guys to tell you as they try to rearm. You've got this group over the past was all financed by the Chinese Communist Party. They've done military exercises like they're prepping for Pearl Harbor, right? Like the Japanese fleet did outside of Tokyo for about 2 months. They're doing it right in front of your face. They're doing a full flex around Taiwan to say, 7th Fleet, bring it. He's down in Southeast Asia today around the littoral nations of the South China Sea, and he's not cutting deals, he's imposing deals. He's saying, here's what you're going to take. If you don't like it, that's your problem. This is kind of our terrain because we're Imperial Japan. And he's doing the same thing on India and up there in the border. He's getting a border conflict now with Pakistan. Geopolitically, on his chessboard, he is securing East Asia and Southeast Asia to say, hey, United States and your 3-island chain in vast Pacific, I see what you're doing geopolitically. I'll see you and I'll raise you one. I will basically consolidate East Asia and Southeast Asia, so I will take that part of the Eurasian landmass, and then let's see what tough guys you are. I'm in Brazil, I'm in Central America, and guess what? The cartels are still my partner, and I understand the tariffs have cut fentanyl by 50%, and I understand you say you're going to come down with kinetic forces and blow these guys out of the water, but guess what? They're still my partners, and I think we're doing pretty good because with the weakness in Canada, and Canada is one of the most infiltrated nations on this earth by the Chinese Communist Party, given what Castro's son did and allowed them to do over the last 20 years. They're feeling pretty good. Yeah, I think we got the United States exactly what we want. Now, we have every powerful tool in the toolbox because they don't exist unless they have, number one, access to our capital, both debt and equity. Okay? Number two, the ability to take our technology. And have you heard anybody but War Room screaming about the $30 trillion? Because he's talking about deficits of the $36 trillion in debt we have and the $2 trillion of deficits every year. We have $25 trillion of deficit, of a trade deficit, 18 trillion just since our elites brought China into the game, $18 trillion just with China. Oh, by the way, intellectual property, $30 trillion. Okay? And do you have anybody in Silicon Valley? No, because they don't mind the Chinese taking it. What do you think you got? You got all these venture capital funds, right, that are open to do it, to create a joint venture and let them take as long as we get access to the Chinese market, as long as we get access to their cheap labor, if they need to take our intellectual property, they can take it. Because, hey, it's just created in American universities or these small companies and the citizens of the United States who essentially paid for it are getting stiff. Hell, we stiffed them on trade. We're stiffing them on capital markets. What Kevin O'Leary saying over the weekend, the MOU Biden signed gave the Chinese preferred access to our capital markets. Number one, they don't even have to get audited. They're audited by Chinese auditors. How many times they found the scam that you go into the Chinese companies, you got the same guy, it's a CFO at like 3 different companies, right, under different names, and cooking the books 3 different sets of ways. The total deal is rigged from the top to the bottom. It's rigged in your tax dollars and worse, the little bit of retirement money you have that's managed by the Oregon State Pension Fund or CalPERS, the Alabama Teachers Fund, or all of that, the firemen, the cops, the teachers, your little bit of thing you put away, that's all driven, that's underwritten, that's the equity capital that underwrote the jobs leaving.
Guys, let me tell you this. What I like about Steve Bannon, he's a crazy guy. Don't get me wrong. This dude's crazy, but he was a strategist for Trump. He went to jail for Trump. He went to jail because of the January 6th committee. But what I love is that he's so knowledgeable on the back end of all these numbers of what's happened over the past 30, 40 years. And what kills me is that we literally sit here and we deal with so much opposition to the truth, to the facts, and the Democrats continue that no matter what Trump stands for, they side with the other side, whether it's China, Ukraine, whether it's the criminals, the gangbangers. You do not see the Democrats defending anything that's been uncovered with Doge, with all the fraud, waste, and abuse. None of them have condoned it or say, you know what? Thank you, Doge, for finding this fraud. It's like we're living in the Twilight Zone. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest battles in the next 2 to 4 years that we're ever going to face as America to keep America, America.
Part of this, that's the Greek tragedy, is that the very people that play by the rules, i.e. the American worker, the American middle class and working class, the very folks, the good housekeepers, that husband their resources, that did exactly what they were supposed to do, in doing that, they got screwed. Their tax dollars, what they underwrote to the universities, their pension funds, their 401ks, that's what paid for all of it. And Wall Street, the global corporatists domiciled here in this country, and Silicon Valley, let's throw in Hollywood, as they were sending the films over there, all skimmed 20% off the top, essentially, for themselves.
Guys, let me tell you this.
That's the reality of what happened.
I'm so happy what I'm about to show you right now, because Trump is finally going after these dang big colleges. So right now, we give $2.2 billion for Harvard after the university, they're freezing it after the university rejected request for policy changes. When it comes to men and women's sports, when it comes to all this anti-Semitism. Well, guess what? Did y'all know that that Harvard has literally almost a $50 billion endowment? That they have almost $50 billion, but they're still trying to get your tax dollars to put those kids through college. Makes no sense, guys. It's such corruption. Like, it literally bothers me, because I know, like, I bust my butt to work hard for my family. I know you do too. But man, it's so crazy that it takes a president to freeze this much money from one of an elite school. It's your hard-earned tax dollars, and some of us didn't even go to college. Some of us elected not to. But it's just the amount of just fraud, waste, and abuse is so real, guys. I got to show you this. Because even our boy Stephen Miller, he ain't afraid of anybody. He's calling out everybody. Check this out.
Number one, DOJ said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said, because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case, clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So he appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0.
Yes.
We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not, no, Bill, it's
clarification,
important.
that's the case.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's an
believe he
illegal
is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador. Hold on, this is important. In 2019, He was ordered deported. He has a final removal order from the United States. These are things that no one disputes. Where is he from? El Salvador. Where is he a resident and citizen of? El Salvador. Is he here illegally? Yes. Does he have a deportation order? Yes. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. Now, some have said, well, but he had a thing called a withholding order. So a withholding order means you've been ordered deported, but an immigration judge is saying you cannot go back to a particular country. Here's the thing. If you are a member of a foreign terrorist organization, you cannot have a withholding order. Since he's in MS-13, there is no withholding order. Furthermore, the gang that he is accused of being persecuted by doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. The 18th Street gang is gone. So you have an illegal alien from El Salvador. Bill, where are we supposed to send the illegal alien from El Salvador?
You haven't even
to
allowed
what
me
country?
to ask you a question. Are you convinced he is still a member of MS-13? That was your original charge.
Yes. But here's the thing, Bill. Yes, but here, not only am I convinced of it, not only is El Salvador convinced of it, Bill, he's an illegal alien from El Salvador with the deportation order. So his only options in life, Bill, his only options in life are to be deported to El Salvador or to be deported to some other country. That's it. He has a deportation order. So, Bill, you tell me, what country should we deport him to? Tell me, please. Tell me.
So Marco Rubio on Sunday morning said this. On Saturday night, another 10 criminals from the...
Guys, let me tell you this. That dude's a pit bull, and I love it. Because, guys, I got to show you things. When things break, I do not wait to put it into the next show. I say I want to bring you things as they break. And this right here blows my mind. What they just broke of $80 billion that's been lost, cannot be accounted for, Ukraine money. Guys, listen to this.
In other words, the Fed is losing. Last year, they lost about $80 billion, and the taxpayers funded that. And we used that money to pay banks. If we stop this, think how much we could lower the deficit. Over a 10-year period, it would be $2 trillion.
So is Congress then financing this loss? And if so, where in the budget is this money?
Yeah, they play sleight of hand with this, Charlie. It's crazy. The Federal Reserve has an account that they call a deferred asset. So normally, before all of this change, the Fed owned bonds, but they didn't pay banks, and they made money every year. And so then they would give that money to the Treasury at the end of the year. Now, with them losing money, they have what's called a deferred asset, which is the craziest term I've ever heard. It's a negative account. I don't know how they're paying their employees. I don't know how they're keeping their lights on, because if you run a private business in a deficit, you either have to raise more equity or debt or something in order to pay to keep the lights on. And so my belief, and the Fed won't really tell you this, is that they're borrowing money from the Treasury in order to keep the lights on.
Y'all hear this, guys? Like, this is the stuff that's coming out. It literally blows my mind. We got a federal judge. So remember how in Maine, I think it's the governor's fighting with Trump over allowing men to play in women's sports, and now a federal judge is ordering to unfreeze the funding to Maine as this dispute happens. Again, guys, it's literally judges against Trump, judges against the Trump administration. We're literally living in this world where judges are now controlling a sitting president. This makes no sense. It is downright wrong, but I'm telling you, if the Supreme Court doesn't give an ultimatum on this, of guys, stop it. They can't go cherry picking these federal district judges and then try to say, oh, well, we're just trying to follow the law. No, you're not. You're trying to get your way. You're trying to do all this stuff against the executive orders that Trump has put. He's the president. He can do it. This is what I'm saying, guys, but I got some more news for you because, again, our boy Stephen Miller has been on a run today, guys, winning big time. Check this out.
To you all for a very long time. I legitimately, in my entire, going back years actually, in my entire professional life, I've never received this many questions from the media about an American who's raped or murdered by an illegal alien. Legitimately never. And all of you who are enjoying your lives and doing quite well, if you had children and you were living near any of these people, you would move away immediately. You would call the police immediately. You would call us and ask us to make you and your family safer immediately. And you thank your lucky stars every night that you have enough means and enough money not to live in communities where, say, illegal alien pedophiles offend and reoffend and keep reoffending and keep reoffending. There's an expression there, but for the grace of God, go I. The Biden administration apprehended 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela. They were trained to Aragua. A lot more than 2, I'm telling you 2. And they decided they were entitled to an enormous amount of due process. And they didn't feel they had enough evidence to just deport them right away. So they put them on a monitoring system known as supervised release. You're familiar with this case. But a few weeks later, they kidnapped a young girl named Jocelyn Nungri, who was 12 years old at the time. I'm sure you've seen pictures of her. Just the most perfect girl you could possibly imagine. And her mother loved her very much. She was tied up, savagely beaten, stripped naked, tortured to death, murdered. Her body was dumped into a lake. So she didn't get any due process, but I'll tell you who did are the 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela who stole her forever. And there's stories like that all over the country.
Yes.
We just arrested a pedophile.
When was the last time you ever heard a CNN or MSNBC even mention their names? Jocelyn or Lake and Riley. No, you don't hear them ever say those names. Biden didn't say it. Kamala Harris didn't say it. They're a bunch of hypocrites, guys. And this is what makes me mad, is that they talk about trying to defend these illegal immigrants who have committed these crimes, these horrendous crimes, and these dang reporters won't even say their names or even ask about those. Like he just said, I've never had y'all ask me about those people that were hurt by criminal illegals, but y'all are so hell-bent on asking me about these deported criminals.
Illegal alien who is being shielded by a sanctuary city, who's been charged in 20 sex crimes against children. Not that any of you have had the chance to spend time with victims' families whose children have been raped or whose wives have been raped and murdered. But if that doesn't break your heart, nothing will. And I know that we have some people, like Taylor Lawrence, who fantasize about assassinations and things like that. But in a civilized society, the power of the state is used to keep innocent people alive and to keep innocent women and children from being hurt. This administration is never going to apologize for using the power of the state to keep men, women, and children from being savaged and murdered and beaten. If we release known and suspected MS-13 and trained to Aragua, and there's another Jocelyn Nungri, then whose responsibility is that going to be? You think that we're going to sit around wringing our hands, wondering if, maybe we should, release this person, give them a little bit of extra time, give them a little bit of extra chance to plead their case, and then what? They kidnap somebody, they slit their throat, they shoot them in the head, and we say, well, at least the illegal alien got due process. They're here illegal. The only place that they deserve to go is to some country other than our country.
Boom.
And it's not a statistic. These are real lives. These are real families. There's whole neighborhoods in Los Angeles controlled by illegal alien Mexican street gangs. Entire neighborhoods where you have to live in fear because of individuals here illegally engaged in extortion and crime. Not to mention the fentanyl. You have cartels that have functional control over the entire northern territory in Mexico who are pumping fentanyl, lacing our drugs with this chemical. Children are ending up dead. They're going out to a weekend party. They think they're taking something safe, and they get a heart attack and they die by the thousands. So we're not going to apologize for doing something about that. And I just wish we lived in a country where the media gave to 1/10 a damn as much about Americans who were murdered and brutalized and savagely killed, beaten to death, as they did about whether illegal aliens that we all agree are illegal aliens should get 1 million days in court and 1 million trials and 1 million this and 1 million that. There's 15 million illegal aliens that violate into the country. If every one of them got the trial that you're asking for, it would take us centuries to remove them. Centuries. We've been talking about this in 300-400 years. Their great-great-great-grandchildren will be the ones representing them in court. That's how long it would take. Illegal aliens who come to our country have to be removed, and they have to be removed quickly, and that is an essential component of having something that we like to call a country.
Stephen,
One last question. Thank you.
Visa restrictions. The president on his first day, the president on his first day in office signed an executive order calling on his administration, the Department of Homeland Security, State Department, DNI, to come up with a list of countries that did meet the United States' vetting standards and to potentially put full or partial visa restrictions on those countries. I just want to know what is the status of that report that was due to the administration last month? Do you have a list of countries?
So, the State Department has done the work that you're describing, is currently going through the standard review process. I don't have any update beyond that, but I mean, you're correct in your statement that this was a product that was called for, or that beginning of the administration is being worked on, and okay, but further update for you soon. Last question.
If I may, President Trump continues to say that one of the best arguments for sending undocumented criminals to El Salvador is cost. When it comes to this White House considering sending U.S. citizens to El Salvador because of being criminals, is that the same argument, cost?
So the El Salvadorian deportation program is for illegal aliens, but I would also say that on the cost point, what we're referring to is the fact that long-term incarceration in the United States
is expensive.
Probably costs like 100x what it costs to send somebody to El Salvador. So that's in other words, if an illegal alien commits a crime in this country and then has to go into our judicial and appeal system, I don't know the exact numbers, and I'm assuming it's probably like 100x cost. But I'll just close by saying the amount of lives that we've saved since we should have, by shutting down the border, since President Trump issued his executive orders and began deporting criminals, is already in the thousands. And by the way, we've been out looking for the 500,000 children that Biden trafficked into this country. The stories we've already uncovered of sex trafficking and labor trafficking and child abuse is beyond imagination. 500,000 minors were smuggled into this country under the last administration.
Wow.
And the administration not only didn't do anything to prevent it, in every way, they funded it, subsidized it, facilitated it, supported it, contributed to it, that if any American citizen did these things, they'd be in jail for life. Thank you.
Guys, this literally, it really bothers me. Thank you so much, D. Adams, for the super chat. Let's go. It literally bothers me when I hear this stuff because, again, I think about the kids, innocent kids, that because of politics or whatever, they're the ones that get they get hurt. D. Adams said, thank you, Joel, for being God person and bringing us the news in one place. God bless you and your family. D. Adams, thank you so much. I'll show D. Adams some love in the chat. God bless you. Because, guys, this is the hard facts right here. These 4 people, Elon's Doge has uncovered $140 billion in government waste. Instead of defending it, Democrats threw tantrums. No real arguments, just name-calling, legal nitpicks, and sweaty rants about techno-states. They didn't deny that 2.1 million Social Security numbers went to non-citizens. They didn't deny that. They just hoped you'd never hear about it. Now they're spiraling because Doge exposed the grift, and America's not falling for the noise. Guys, this is what is the truth. Like, I'm telling you, I feel the fight inside so much because I want people to see the truth. I want people to know the truth. There's stuff that's going on with Facebook and Meta that Real America's Voice is reporting. Guys, I'm telling you, we're about to see some crazy stuff. We're going to see why Mark Zuckerberg was really trying to be besties with Trump. Listen to this.
And Warren Posse, I will be very clear. I think you guys know where we stand on all of this, but just to reiterate for the haters, losers, and legacy media that's watching, Mark Zuckerberg belongs in prison. Maybe we should send him to El Salvador. I know President Trump was talking about sending Americans to prisons in El Salvador. I think that would be a great idea. And look, I'm not even saying because he stole the 2020 election or helped rig it, because he did. And I can go over chapter and verse, the Center for Tech and Civic Life grants that went, 98% and upwards of that to Democratic districts. Yet try to explain keeping your tax exempt status for all that work, or your collusion with the Chinese Communist Party, like the whistleblowers that you're actively trying to suppress. So spare me your free speech, performative activism on that front, Mr. Zuckerberg. But I would just look at what happened on the southern border, right? All the wonderful activities, this time not necessarily emanating out of the Chan Zuckerberg initiative, but out of Forward US, one of the foremost lobbying organizations to essentially replace you, your children, and your grandchildren with immigrant labor. Well, believe it or not, they, as we exclusively reported, I think a few months ago, have financed to the tunes of millions of dollars, essentially every left-wing NGO, those that aren't funded by Act Blue, that are involved on the southern border from cradle to grave, from start to finish, the entirety of the illegal immigration process. And I'm leaving out the whole H-1B discussion, though. I will certainly have that anytime, anywhere, any place. But in the case of the Chan Zuckerberg initiative, if you remember the long, 40-tweet thread that I put out, showing all these various NGOs that Zuckerberg himself, the organization that he founded, so spare me the stupid defense that they, I think, attacked this show for saying that, oh, well, he doesn't control all the money, he doesn't know where his money goes. Bro, you founded the organization. So you're all about masculinity, then be a man and take some ownership. And a real man wouldn't just send some half-assed two-page letter to the House Judiciary Committee saying, oops, I think I maybe stole the election, but I don't totally think I did. Sorry would go a long way. Not long enough to keep you out of prison, per se, but maybe that would be a good start. But some of these NGOs, one of them was the Border Angels Initiative, the Kino Border Initiative. Well, those groups were involved with supplying water and food and resources to illegal aliens on their trek to the United States. And then all of the Catholic charities and their Lutheran counterparts were funded, you guessed it, extensively by Forward US and groups like that. To help facilitate every single instance, every single section of the mass invasion and illegal immigration into this country. Groups that are actively opposing President Trump's immigration agenda, groups that are operating ICE hotlines, doxing ICE agents, trying to stop ICE raids, swearing that till their dying breath they'll oppose President Trump's deportation raids. Those are groups that are funded directly by a group that Mark Zuckerberg founded. And now this man has the nerve, using all the money that he got from trying to destroy this country, social media, the negative impacts on children aside, to buy what was a $25 million house in DC so he could go grovel and try to kiss the ring of President Trump.
I told you guys.
Stupid companies can somehow avoid being broken up.
Because right now, you're about to see it, guys. We're this close. We're Facebook, Meta is going to have to sell. Instagram is going to have to split up because they're too big. And they're going after them because of what's happened. Too big. I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, to all of our viewers, all of our subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. If you're not subscribed, please consider joining our family here at TrueLife News. We want you here, guys. We want to bring you the best news every single day. We want to make sure that you are informed 100%, and we want to make sure that we grow this channel to be known as a giving channel. So when you are a member of this channel, when you give a super chat, guys, we donate this every single month on the 22nd. Every single month, we have donated tens of thousands of dollars to local charities to help change lives. And that's what we're here about, guys. I want to give some love to everybody in the chat and say, if you don't mind doing us a huge favor of hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much. But thank you so much, Ruby Hoove, Jay Ewers, Michelle Lindsay, Deanna Barkman, What's New, Andy, Roy T, D Adams. And again, Scott Matthews, thank you for your support. But brother, you got to keep it toned down in the chat. That was way too much. We put him in timeout. So for 24 hours, he'll be okay. But we want a clean chat too. We want to appreciate everybody's support, but we want to make sure that we continue to do what's right, guys. Bring the truth. Have a great place for people to come, laugh, talk about politics, enjoy each other's company, ask, build. We're a family here, guys. And that's what I want to make sure to take care of you every single day. I love you all so much. Appreciate you with all my heart. Me and my family are truly grateful. We're here to serve you. And that's what Washington should be saying. And look, I wanted to show you. We donated to the Boys Ranch. They sent us a card. I'm going to read it real quick. It says, Dear Mr. Muro, I want to express how our heartfelt gratitude for your generous gift to the Boys Ranch. Your support is a blessing to this ministry. Because of your giving, we are able to provide our boys a safe and loving environment in which to live and learn. God bless you, Lighthouse Ranch for Boys. Guys, that's what it's all about. And I got to find it. I got the New Beginnings, which we're going to be donating to on the 22nd. Guys, it's all about the giving. Love you all so much. Appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.